No, I listened to the press conference with Rafael Grossi just before coming on the air with you, and he sounded quite satisfied that basically the Iranians have agreed to continue monitoring and verification as necessary, at least for the next 3 months. Maybe there are some, specific details that won't be exactly the same, but it's enough for the IAEA apparently. And that gives time for the US and Iran to sit down and begin to hash out the sequencing of the mutual return to compliance with the JCPOA.
Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, he was also on air. He's been slamming the Biden administration. He said its actions will embolden Iran. He said the Trump administration built a coalition of Israel and the Gulf countries to push back on Iran. I see you shaking your head there, but clearly there will be some here in Washington who echo those sentiments that may make this harder for Joe Biden.
I don't think so. I don't think most Americans are focused on this issue, frankly. They're much more worried about the economy and COVID and whether the schools will reopen and whether they can get vaccinated. This is a very inside baseball kind of subject for, certain people in Washington. And with all due respect to Mike Pompeo, he's not in charge anymore, and neither is Donald Trump. And their policy has brought us only escalation in tensions, and in Iran that is out of compliance with the nuclear deal. So I still believe that there is time and space to get back into it on both sides.
Republicans are still using messages like Obama sent plane loads of cash to Iran. I imagine those will come up again, but talk about some of the pressure, domestic pressure that the Iranian leadership might be facing as well.
Yeah, I think the Iranian leadership is facing more pressure, and we see that in the rhetoric that they're using. They're dismissing all of the gestures that the Biden administration has made so far. And I understand that they want practical sanctions relief. But, the Biden administration has done a number of important things. Just last week, it went to the UN and said that it was no longer recognizing this effort by the Trump administration to, quote unquote, snap back sanctions, that the US indeed respects the UN Security Council resolution that codified the JCPOA. We also have an envoy, Rob Malley, who was part of the original negotiations, and the Iranians know him well. And I have full confidence that if we can just get the two sides to meet, that a lot of this can be hashed out. The European Union has offered its good offices to host these talks, so let's hope this can happen soon.
Do you think one side has more of an interest in getting the JCPOA back on track?
I think all sides have an interest in stabilizing this issue and in reducing tensions in the Middle East. This is a part of the world that has suffered a great deal from conflicts, from COVID, now faces the fact that oil is not going to be the resource perhaps that it has been in the past. They need to get beyond this crisis, and they need to start to work with each other instead of against each other.
Jake Sullivan, the president's national security advisor, said that Washington was now speaking to Tehran, I assume via Swiss intermediaries, about the release of Americans detained in Iran. Is this all part of a bigger picture?
Yeah, I mean, I would, hope that the Iranians would start releasing these people and not make them part of a wider negotiation. I think it's unconscionable that they continue to seize innocent people and hold them as hostages in the way that they do. But unfortunately, this has been the pattern in Iran. So yes, let's look for some releases. Of course, there are Iranians who've been detained in the United States on various charges, some of them more serious than others, and hopefully they can be freed too.